I want to start out by telling you a story about how I started out my first few starry-eyed years in my cult, the way I was seduced into giving up everything I owned, going into extreme debt, nearly losing my house, and going bankrupt while still feeling like I was living the dream, contributing to a great cause, having a lot of fun, and changing the world, which is really why I was there. Then I'm going to cover 6 points that I hope will help clarify the tactics that groups and cults like these use to get your money, in the hopes that if you're watching this and you didn't make money, you lost money, or worse, you'll realize that this isn't your fault. This is how the system is designed to work, so that the tippy top of the organization gets rich while the rest of everyone else judges themselves, works themselves to the bone, and is gaslit into believing that there's something wrong with them if they can't get it to work. So about 10 years ago now, I had been inside this cult for a couple years and taking lots of classes, and I was working up to becoming a facilitator so I could do classes of my own. I actually sold my vehicle so that I could get to my first facilitator class. And then I started traveling and doing classes. I thought this was great. This was going to be my new career. I had given up my acupuncture practice, my wellness center. I still had the building that I owned that the wellness center was run in, but I had leased it out to another company. So I was getting this rental income. Of course, rather than putting the rental income to the mortgage, which was what it was for, I was putting it into, you guessed it, the cult. Taking more classes, traveling to take more classes, traveling to do more classes, taking more classes so I could keep my license to do more classes, and the cycle goes on. Having a lot of fun while I was doing it, maxing out all my credit cards and, making just enough money to sort of keep it going and keep this whole hamster wheel rolling. At one point, I flew into Costa Rica to take a 7-day training. It's one of their biggest classes that they do. You go for 7 days to this exotic location. I flew into Costa Rica, one-way ticket, because I couldn't afford a round trip ticket. And I had at that point put away what they say to do is 10%. You put it away in an account for you or in something like jewelry. I knew for myself I had to put it into jewelry so I wouldn't spend it. So I had one possession to my name, which was a ring. It was worth probably about $1,500. At that training, again, I had flown in, one-way ticket, about to lose my house because I've given all the rental income, away, and had this one ring, didn't have a way to leave the country, didn't have a way to make any other money. And I'm at this Costa Rican training and they're telling us, getting us all hyped up about how special the land is there and how it's this most amazing, most conscious, most beautiful part of the world. And they want to buy this land. I just thought, I cannot think of anything better than giving my last possession to this cause. So I went to the leader of the group. I'm crying. He's pretending to cry. Give him my last possession. I'm laughing because I just feel really stupid now. At the time, I felt like this was the right thing to do. And I was telling this story to a friend of mine the other day. And I said, he was crying. It was this beautiful moment. And she goes, but he still took the ring, Lauren. Like, I was like, yeah, that's true. He did still take it, And I think that's kind of like it in a nutshell. Like, I had nothing. I had less than nothing. This guy is, now I know, just scamming people out of millions and millions of dollars. And he takes it. He didn't say, no, hey, you probably should put this towards, a plane ticket home. He just took it. And there's a lot of people that have lost a lot more. I'm not, here's not my violin song. But the problem with this type of thing is that these organizations convince people like me that they should be making money if they're doing it right. And if they're not, it's their fault. So we're told if you invest, which means give them money and take more classes, that you'll magically start receiving more. And in this group, receiving equals making more money. So in reality, they are lying to and exploiting you. using labor trafficking and deceptive earnings claims to keep the company afloat while you keep buying in. I'm going to say this again. If you don't make money, if you've lost money, or if you're going into debt using this system or these tools that they've outlined, it's not your fault. Never once have I ever heard in the 12 years I was part of this group, them come to someone that was struggling after using it and say, we gave you bad advice, or, the issue is actually on our end. Never once. It is always turned around on you and what you're doing or not doing that's causing the problem. So in another cult called Nexium, they called it being at cause. And you were given an EM, which is an exploration of meaning to get to the root of the problem. In Scientology, a clear is said to be at cause over. That means in control of their mental energy, their thoughts, and able to think clearly, even when faced with the very situations that in earlier times caused them difficulty. In my cult, they would facilitate you, which is a process where they ask you questions and then run this clearing statement that's supposed to unlock where you're stuck or limited, that's creating the issue, which again is always your issue, not their issue. So for instance, you take a bunch of classes on business and money, you become a facilitator of this program so you can do your own classes, and you put up this class and you wait and do all the things that they say to do. And let's say one person shows up for your class or no one comes. And guess what? You're out a lot of money. If you go then and ask them about that, the leaders of this cult are going to say things like this: truth, did you really want to do that class? Or how many people were you willing to receive? And so on. The questions are all designed to get at the problem, which is you. It's something in you that you were choosing that's created the problem. Never will the question be, I wonder how the system could be changed so that you can actually make more money. Never. All right. So here are 6 ways that I came up with. This might have to be a 2-parter because there's sadly so many things to talk about when it comes to financial abuse in this organization and others, that they use deception to get you to continue to buy in to what functions essentially like a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, or an MLM, depending on how you define it. Take your pick. Here's 6 ways that they do it. Number 1, no meaningful financial disclosure, and the only stories you hear about are the ones where someone succeeded. So earnings claims are made on both the company's part and the individual facilitator's part, but they're never backed up with any actual tax returns or any kind of proof. They're very vague usually. If it's an individual claiming that this made them a lot of money, and so you should come to them to learn all this ways that they made a lot of money, they're not actually disclosing how they made that money and how much it cost them to make that money. Put a pin in that. I'm going to come back to that one. So let's take MLMs. So some of the top MLMs take in millions of dollars. LuLaRoe, for instance, went from $0 to $2 billion in less than 10 years. That would be incredible, except that most of the money is coming from their distributors, not actual customers, meaning the people inside the organization are having to continue to buy into the organization in order to stay in it. And that's where all the money comes from, not people actually buying the products that aren't in the organization. Deceptive earnings claims of members. So for instance, they will share the amount that they made from doing a class, or they'll post pictures of their giant class that they've done, and you're calculating, okay, this class they charged $1,500 for, or whatever the price is of the class, and you're calculating, wow, there's like 30 people there, and you're doing the math, and you're like, wow, there must be really successful. And this, by the way, is not just MLMs and cults. This is in all marketing is very culty. So there's deceptive earnings claims or the implicit, you kind of like let the person do the math in their head, but you're not actually saying Half of them were staff. There was people there for free. Like not, these other people were on like payment plans or whatever. And so it's like the actual earnings from that was like a small fraction, not to mention how much it costs you to be able to do that class, meaning you had to get this license and maintain this license, which costs whatever that costs. And then you had to travel and pay your staff and pay your business costs, etc. And so you can see how quickly the profit goes down. Also, there's something called survivorship bias. Survivorship bias was created by actually in wartime studying fighter airplanes. And what would happen is they were studying the airplanes that came back from war. So a bunch of planes went out. The ones that came back and didn't get shot down, they would study to make stronger. This is a problem because they're not studying the ones that got shot down to make them stronger. They're only studying the ones that made it back. So it's kind of the reverse of what they should have been doing. So survivorship bias is a cognitive fallacy in which, when looking at a given group, you focus only on examples of successful individuals, the survivors, in the selection process rather than the group as a whole, including the non-survivors. So here are some questions that you should be asking when you see, let's say you're at a course or you're hearing this amazing story. It's like, here's this system that's going to make you a ton of money, and there's one or two people being showcased. And I've gone to presentations too for like other things where they do this, and there's people that get up on the stage and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a single mom and I was like struggling, and now I started selling hand lotion or essential oils or eyelash cream, whatever. And now I retired my husband and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, the questions you should be asking are, okay, maybe let's just give you the benefit of the doubt and say that that's true. So that's one person. So how many people have done the same thing that that person did that are not making money? How many people have lost money? How many people have gone into debt or gone bankrupt, lost their spouses or other support people in their life because of the amount of money that they continue to sink into these classes and programs and sessions that the leader comes up with? They will never talk about that. They don't want you to think about that or ask those questions. And side note, if you ever do bring that up, you will probably be kicked out. And that's why people don't ask those questions. At a minimum, you'll be made wrong. You'll be made a spectacle. They'll turn it around on you, gaslight you, or tell you, you're welcome to leave if you don't want to be here. Take your money, but you're never welcome back to consciousness again. Okay, so you're not the problem. It's the system. The truth is, most people are not making money. The vast majority of people are not making money. A woman today told me that she just looked at her financial statements over the last 19 years. She was in this cult for 19 years. And she discovered she took a loss of almost $360,000. That is the amount she paid for the privilege to do the work of this cult and be an incredible recruiter, by the way. So she probably made this cult millions of dollars from all the people she brought in that ended up paying into this system, where she got the privilege of of it netting her negative $360,000. She's not alone. The reason I'm doing this video is because it's kind of like overwhelming at this point, the number of people that come to me with the same story. So two other facilitators shared with me they had spent about $70,000 to $75,000 to become a facilitator, stay for 1 year, and had made nothing back. Another one last week came to me. She didn't opt to become a facilitator, but just spent $50,000 in 1 year just taking classes. So there's a tremendous amount of money being made by the organization and not a tremendous amount of money being made by the individuals. Okay, number 2, it's a closed system. So you have to continually buy in order to maintain the ability to make money, i.e. keep your license. There's no transparency in this business model. The members are the ones supporting the group. It's a closed system. So you sell the stuff to make money, to buy more of the stuff, to then sell more of the stuff. And the only one coming out on top is the company, not you, but they don't tell you that. It's not the actual product or classes or whatever that's making it profitable. It's the system of recruitment and then moving recruits up this ascension ladder into higher levels of more advanced classes and more licenses. It never ever ends. That continues to make them more money. Once you become licensed, you make money by selling the same shit to the same people. And of course, the level of competition is insane, while of course they say that one of their rules is no competition. But when you have two people selling the same thing to the same people for the same price, you do the math. Number 3, you're going to be distracted by some big mission or cause, which will always change before the money is actually put to use. So there will always be a cause or a mission that the leader is rallying his followers to contribute money to. When I started, it was plastic in the ocean. Then it was forests. Then it was this conscious holy land in Costa Rica, which is a resort. You could become an investor for a castle that they have in Italy. And then you could become like this image of wealth and you could know what it was like to be wealthy. There were 2 attempts at creating schools for kids. There are tickets sold for future endeavors, loan bonds, and even raising money for a Hollywood movie. And my favorite, which I contributed my own money to, was their ginormous tax bill with the IRS. So the point is, there's always a big mission that is the focus of the organization, and everyone's being asked to contribute. And there's like this big, heartfelt, planetary call. And then it will just change. Then there's never any like, hey, what happened to the millions? I actually was at this one class and one of the managers, it's probably why he isn't the manager anymore, mentioned that there was, I think it was $1 million or 2 million, I don't know, in the account that had been raised for one of these missions along the way. And the leader actually went, shh. Doesn't want you to know that he has $1 million in the bank, because then you're going to want to know, where are all the trees? Where are all the trees we've saved? All right. Number 4, people struggle or hesitate to get out despite losing hundreds or thousands of dollars. And they struggle to get out because of 2 main reasons. So one is the promise of potential wealth. So often with MLMs, they'll advertise special prizes or retailer rewards for their retailers. They'll take their top 1% of people and they'll tote them around. Who wouldn't be enticed by a brand new car or thousands of dollars, especially when all you need to do is stick it out just a little bit longer, invest a little bit more money, and work just a little bit harder. Number 2 is that in any cult, and also a lot of times with MLMs, you've created this community. And so you've been isolated from your previous community. And in the case of something where you're recruiting people, you've probably pissed off a lot of your friends and family by trying to sell them on this new thing that you're doing. And so you've basically isolated yourself from your peers, your previous support system. And so now, not only is your new community going to shame you if you leave and do all sorts of whatever stuff to you if you leave, but probably you're thinking, my original friends and my family that warned me not to get into this aren't going to accept me back. And so you feel ashamed. Number 5. Don't worry, once they've bled you dry, you can still be devoted by working for them for free in exchange for class credits. So there's an example. I heard yesterday a podcast of this. It was like a kind of hippie commune called Zendik Farms. And this girl, she actually graduated from Harvard, super smart, and had been given a grant of $13,000. And she went to live in this commune, and turned out to be a cult. And she gave them all of her money. Again, like I was doing, just contributing to the cause. She's like, here's everything I own. I'm giving you everything. This is a great cause, and worked there for free. Like manual labor all day long, and she's sleeping on like a goat loft or wooden crate or something. And then they eventually kicked her out, and she asked for money to get a bus ticket, and they wouldn't even give her $20. It's like, what happened to the 13 grand I gave you? All right. So in this cult, a lot of the way people afford to keep coming is they do work for the group in exchange for being able to come because they're out of money, and like their family stopped giving the money. They're out of credit cards. They're not making any money, but they still are paying in. And so they want to keep coming. And they're also, there's this sunken cost fallacy. It's like you've already put in this much, you're just going to keep putting in a little bit more. In order to do that, once you have no more money, you start working for them. So that brings me to number 6, which is confusion around payouts. The way they pay their staff, no one's a staff member, by the way, they have 0 staff, but the way they pay people that work for them is very confusing. The commission rates will be changed after they were given to you. Or what they started doing was like, okay, you're going to make, let's say, 5% off of the commission of this class, but it's after 30%. It was like originally 10%, there was 20%, there was 30% business cost, but you never know what that is. You never see, there's no transparency in it. You never know how much is going to be taken out. And then you look at it and you're like, this doesn't add up, but it's always changing. And they just make the funny math work so that they always get what they want. And then your amount just seems to keep going down. So also they'll pay you in different currencies from different companies. They'll pay you like one little flat rate here and then a commission. So you're like, have no idea how much money you're actually making until it's already come in. And then you're looking back and you have no idea how to budget for the future. So they keep you very confused. Also, they did things with people that would come to class where there's like one deal in place. Like you're going to come to this class to have a certain type of license where you can then go and do classes based on this license. And then once people have already traveled there, they're sitting in the class 1 or 2 days, whatever, then they're informed, actually, once you do this class, you're going to have to pay every class that you do out of this license, like 30% out of what you make comes back to us. And it's like, wait, hang on. They did that one time and everyone, there was like an uproar. Of course there's an uproar. You can't have people come, pay all this money to be there, and then change the deal once they're there. But the people that had the issue were bullied and gaslit into, you guessed it, they're wrong, they're not receiving, they're not willing to choose more. And so they're the ones that are welcome to leave and we'll give you your money back. You just can't come back ever again. Well, who's going to take that deal? It's like you've already invested so much. You just take what they've given you and you go off and you kind of like are resentful, or you probably start judging yourself like, well, there's other people in there that seemed like, oh, this is great. I'll just step up more and I'll choose more and I'll choose greater. And then they'll tell you a story at a later point about how they did and they made all this magical money, fell out of the sky and hit them on the head. And it's like, okay, so I get a little worked up because it's like, I bought this crap and I sold this crap for so long and now it's just crap. Okay, they will also, that was my 6 points, but extra bonus one, they prep you for a lot of this stuff by, like, for instance, if you were to call it an MLM, they'll tell you like, we're not an MLM. MLMs are wrong and unethical. Or like in Nexium, they literally told them MLMs are unethical. We're ethical, so we're not an MLM. Okay, but that's kind of like not the point. The point is like, how does it function and how is the money actually flowing and where's the transparency? I want to wrap up this episode with a quote from Sarah Edmondson that says, they're selling empowerment, but it's actually enslavement. My hope is in sharing this with you that it gives you some relief and clarity to actually identify what's going on and stop making yourself wrong for it, because it is not your fault.